Hello, this is Michelle Fox from Michelle Fox Beauty and Michelle Fox Online, and we are talking about the topic of choosing to go gray. It is very popular right now. Many women are deciding to ditch the dye and pursue their natural color. I think part of the reason is that even the younger generation has seen the beauty of platinum and silver hair, and many of them are going the route of those colors. So there's never been a better time. I personally spent 12 months growing my natural color. So I have lots of firsthand experience and thoughts on this. So we're going to talk about why do people want to do it? How are they doing it? There are three main ways, three choices that you have when you decide. And when is it the time? When should you do it? Because it is a big decision and not everyone is ready. So, without any further ado, let's have this conversation. First of all, some of the reasons why that I've heard one of them is the desire to be free from that constant need to get your roots done. And that was probably my primary reason. It seemed that I no sooner had my color done than I started to see my white roots, and the color that I was having done was brunette, and so the white showed up almost immediately, literally within about 7 to 8 days. And it was just maddening, and I was just tired of thinking about it. Another is to be done with the added cost and the time commitment. You're at the salon every 2 to 4 weeks. Concerns about the chemicals that we're exposed to. There are different thoughts about that, but bottom line, we're putting something on our scalp that's soaking in, and we aren't entirely sure what the effects are of that. Problems with hair loss, scalp tenderness. Some people have itchiness and dermatitis as a result. We just straight up want to have healthy, shiny, soft hair like everybody else that is not coloring their hair constantly. And instead, we have brittle feeling hair. My kids call it crispy hair. That is not something that I like. I want to have soft, pretty hair. Embracing our natural color as an asset and not something undesirable. Now we're getting into some more philosophical, emotional reasons. Think in terms of it, if we're blonde, redhead, brown, brunette, black hair, whatever. And if we had the idea that, well, redhead is good, blonde is bad. In the same way, when you start going gray, I started going gray at 20 years old. So when we put out into the atmosphere, gray is bad, gray is old, gray is weak, gray is no longer pretty. That is awful because we can't help what we are. We can't help what color our hair is. So there are many of us that chose to take that back and say, nuh-uh, gray and silver and white and salt and pepper, it's not a bad thing. It's not an ugly thing. It does not represent old. It does not represent weak or ugly or any of that. We're turning the tables on that, and we're saying that it is desirable. It can be sexy. It can be powerful. It can be youthful. And it is a very exciting time because it's like a revolution, honestly. And there are so many groups that are there to support and encourage and give you wisdom and ideas. So this is really the time. Uh, Something that it really breaks my heart is that we must change the narrative where when men become silver haired, that they're a sexy silver fox. But when a woman chooses to go that route, they're letting themselves go. How wrong is that? I just think it's very, very wrong. So, what are the three ways that women can attack this? The first is probably the simplest, quickest way, and that is to cut it, to just get a super short, stylish pixie cut. That is just right to the chase. And honestly, I think that that is the most painless way if that is a cut that you feel pretty in. The other option is to just leave it alone. Just let it grow. Don't intervene. Let the roots come out. So you've got your old color and the roots, and you're just going to let it grow and keep getting it the ends trimmed until ultimately it's all one color. Your gray color, whatever that is. We're all different. Some have a real pewter color, some are pure white, salt and pepper, gray, more gray than white. It's all different. And but there's that stigma of the stripe, the skunk stripe. So that one's a little tough. And then the third option is called gray blending. And that involves a whole lot of time at the salon again, and a lot of chemicals again, and a lot of money again. And it is a combination of balayage, highlights, lowlights, semi-permanent colors, toners. It is a little less painful because you are, as the word implies, you're blending, so it's not quite as obvious, but there are some pros and cons. So let's talk about each one. We'll break each one down. So cutting it, obviously it's quick, it's easy to maintain, it's inexpensive. But the cons are that it's not a flattering style to everyone. You really have to have a certain build and face shape to pull off that pixie look. And if you were to do it and not like it, you've got a long wait ahead of you before you're going to have it grown out. And when you have a pixie, your styling options are pretty limited. If you're used to having hair that you can put in a ponytail or a bun or put up on the sides, a pixie, there's pretty much one way you can style it. And so that is going to be something that you would have to really get used to. And that can be a drawback for some people. So these are things that you have to consider because you're living with this. It's a pretty long-term situation. The other one is called just leaving it. And in that case, the pros are that there's no damage done to your hair because you're not doing anything. You're not paying anybody, so there's no cost incurred, and there's no change to your routine. You're not having to learn a new hairstyle. You're not having to learn anything about, as you're going to hear about the next option, you have to kind of baby your hair because of the chemical processes. You don't have to do that when you just leave it alone. But the cons are that you have that unattractive line of demarcation, and it's like a spotlight saying, hello, world, I've chosen to stop coloring my hair. Come and give me your opinion. And everyone will. You trust me, you will hear from everyone, whether they are proud of you, whether they think you're doing a good thing, a bad thing, whether they think you're crazy. They will ask you over and over, why? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? Do you think it looks better? And some people will straight up say, I don't think it looks better. I think it looks ridiculous. I think you're going to look old. I think it's going to look bad. It is crazy how rude people feel they can be about this topic. It just boggles the mind. So you are very conspicuous, and it's like you're just asking to be hurt, which is really not cool. So the blended route is what I chose. The pros are that the transition is less noticeable to others. You may not have to cut your hair at all. The idea being that you blend as the roots continue to grow and you trim the ends, and that, everybody's happy, hallelujah, but it doesn't always turn out that way. And that you have time to adjust to the gradual change in color, because as you're blending, you're not going straight from brunette to white. You're going from brunette to sort of, brown with highlights to maybe a dirty blonde to a lighter blonde, so on and so on. So you're getting adjusted to the lighter hair, because that is something to think about. When you have lighter hair, your makeup looks different, your glasses look different, your clothing looks different, and you have to align your thinking and change your wardrobe and change your lipstick shades, and that is something to consider. The cons, it's very expensive and it requires a lot of time at the salon. And again, it is very damaging to your hair. Coloring your hair is one thing, but when you start trying to remove the color, lift the color, bleach it, highlight it, low light it, you are putting process on top of process on top of process, and you are making your hair very fragile. And there are things that you're going to have to do to baby it. And sometimes, if you, I mean, even if you did the best you could, you're going to have to cut a lot of it off because it is just so damaged that it's breaking off or it just looks terrible. And so, whether you like it or not, you end up getting the big chop. And that's part of my story. So, some changes that you have to go through, ready or not. So grab a notebook. If you decide to do the gray blending, which most people do, and I recommend, I guess, I mean, I think if I looked good in a pixie, I would do that. I don't think I have the chutzpah to do the skunk stripe. So I think for the most part, the gray blending is what I would suggest. But I don't know what kind of shampoo and conditioner you use now, if you invest a lot in it, or what brand or what type it is, but you're going to need to invest in a really good quality moisturizing shampoo and conditioner specifically for processed hair when you're going through this gray blending process. And you should probably add a deep conditioning treatment periodically. Something that is really awesome is Olaplex, Oleplex. There are treatments that you can have done at the salon. You can purchase it and do it at home. I have Olaplex number 6, which is a styling product, but it's also like a leave-in treatment product. So that I highly recommend. If you have brassiness, which is when you start highlighting your hair to get it lighter and lighter, and you're making them as ashy, as close to white as possible so it matches your gray, but it just of its own nature, it starts to turn more yellow or coppery. You can use a purple shampoo to get it back to a cooler shade, but you want to choose a quality brand again, because purple shampoos can be drying and they stain your fingers and your fingernails. So you can wear gloves, like really thin kitchen gloves, if you're worried about that, because that did kind of bug me. But again, Olaplex makes a great purple shampoo, and Moroccan Oil, I really liked their shampoo and conditioner. That was their purple shampoo and conditioner. There are lots of brands, but those are 2 that I really liked. Redken So Silver was really good as well. Stay away from hot tools. That was rough because your cuticle is rough, and to smooth your cuticle, you want to use your curling iron, your flat iron, your blow dryer. But when you put that heat on your already weak hair, you are asking for trouble. So if you do end up using any of those, you need to use it on a much lower temperature than what you're accustomed to. And my frustration was that my hair, I have a lot of it. And so when I used the lower temperature, it wasn't really doing anything. So I had the options of just leave it so that it looked all textured and yucky, or try using these tools at a low temperature where it was kind of, half done, or using it at the temperature I wanted to use it, but then my hair would break off. So it was really frustrating. Use warm, not hot water. That was hard for me because I like a hot shower, but hot water is hard on your hair. And to cool, like use a cool water rinse that closes the cuticle of your hair, just another protecting step. And again, if your highlights are getting really brassy, or if just overall your hair is just getting too light too quick, or you just don't like it's fading, or just something is happening that you're not loving, you want to avoid the sun. Wear a hat, stay out of the sun, put some kind of product on to protect it from the sun. Using a satin pillowcase instead of your traditional cotton pillowcase will also keep your hair smoother. And same thing with switching to a microfiber hair wrap instead of a traditional cotton towel. They dry your hair way faster, but also it is easier on your hair. It's softer and easier, and you don't have to rub your hair. You just wrap your head in that, and it soaks up the excess moisture, and your hair is really almost dry. It's amazing. And comb through your hair with a wide tooth comb rather than whatever brush or comb you're used to. You want to just very tenderly comb through, because if you pull, you're going to pull some hair out. Here comes my experience. So I let some of my roots grow out. We were going to do the gray blending. And so the first appointment, that's the next picture, we did some white highlights. So that involved bleaching. And I thought I looked like I was like 100 years old when I left the salon, even though when I look at pictures, you can hardly even see the highlights. But then that third picture, if you can see, I look kind of blonde there. Those white highlights within, I would say, 10 days to 2 weeks turned very blonde. And I didn't really mind that because I didn't feel as old. And so I was coloring my roots with some kind of, root cover up and liking the blonde because I didn't think it looked old. And then the last picture, on the right, is my second appointment where we put in even more of the white highlights. And I think that we did something all over to kind of lighten the color that was left. But again, it was pretty subtle at that point. But soon after, because keep in mind, I was not doing anything to my roots at all. So if you see a picture where my roots don't look gray, it's because I was covering it up with something. So soon after that appointment, my hair looked like this picture on the left because I don't know why. It just seemed like boom, I looked like that. I think, when you're in the salon chair, they do magical things that make you look like $1,000,000, and then all of a sudden you don't. So the next time I went, the second picture in, this was appointment number 3. And I said, okay, I cannot deal with these white roots. I have like 2-3 inches of white roots. The rest of it was, like part of it was salt and pepperish, and then the bottom was all dark. I said, I just feel like I look really weird. I'm begging you to put, tons of white, like thicker patches of the white highlights to just try to blend these roots. Okay. Everybody agrees that that was a really pretty look. And it was. But I really, really had to convince my stylist to do it because she said, you've had done so much to your hair already. This bleach is really going to make your hair fragile. I'm really concerned that you're going to have some of your hair is going to break off. And I said, I really don't care what the risks are. I just need to do this. Well, 2 things happened. This third picture. 1, my bangs broke off. Like they broke off to the nub. And 2, I felt like I looked too white. Look, I felt like I looked like Gandalf. It was so white. And so I found this color depositing shampoo online that was supposed to give me this ashy blonde look. And so I thought, well, that'll balance it out. Instead of white, it'll be more of an ash blonde. I think I'll like that better. But it didn't. It was more of a sunflower yellow. and I hated it. And so here I am with my burned off bangs and my sunflower yellow hair, and we could not get that color out. Like, we did treatment after treatment. There are things you can do to lift color. We could not get that awful yellow color out. Every time we did a treatment, it was further damaging my hair. We are talking, this was a bad situation. The last picture on the right was, a couple months later, after I'd done some treatments to get my hair healthy again, and the yellow had worn off and started to mute so that it was more taupey, like a taupe color. I had my white roots, my taupe on the bottom, and I was starting to experiment with different hairstyles. That hairstyle is not me. That's not my personality. I was desperate. I kept looking online for, how am I going to get through this? And that was a suggestion, was to do your bangs really big. I don't know why. And same thing with the next couple hairstyles. I just really hated it, but I couldn't find anything that I felt pretty in. And so I kept changing things up. So this is me going through, probably like month 6, 7, 8, 9, and very white roots. And in the front, it was, looked kind of frizzy and damaged. And I wasn't sure if that was from where the bangs had burned off, or if it was the condition of my gray, because the white hair toward the back seemed shinier and healthier. And I just didn't know what was going on. And the brunette had really faded. My stylist and I were really surprised, because the bottom half of my hair, we really hadn't done much with. And it just kept fading and fading and fading, probably because of all the bajillions of processes that we've done. So all of that was happening. I don't know if you can tell, but my hair is getting thinner and thinner, not necessarily shorter, but thinner, because it was just breaking off. So picture number 3 here is the big chop, where I said, listen, my hair is in the worst condition it's ever been. We just need to cut it off and start from scratch, because it's just awful. And so we did that, and the cut was cute, but it was hard to work with. And so I ended up looking most of the time like that picture all the way to the right, which I hated. The length was unflattering. It made my face look really wide and even fatter than I thought, than it was. It was just yucky. And so I did not feel attractive. I couldn't find a way to style it that I really liked. It definitely did not flatter me. People on my gray groups online were straight up telling me, you need to get a different hairstyle. Like I didn't know already. So I ended up putting some low lights in there just to get through. Low lights are where you take a darker color and kind of weave that through. We used not permanent. It was like a semi-permanent, it could possibly wash out, wear out, whatever. And, that helped, but it still wasn't quite right. And I still hated that hairstyle. So then I said, you know what? I'm bagging it. Let's just do some color. And so we went to like an ash brown. That's the second picture. And I look a little angry. I don't know. That's too bad. But I didn't love it. Okay. And that's right after I got it done. But this was like an ash brown with white highlights. So we kind of flipped it a little bit. Instead of having white with the brown, we had brown with the white. And it was pretty and it looks healthy, but it wasn't me. Again, I just didn't really feel like it was me. I eventually got used to it, but it right away started to turn really blonde and really kind of crispy, like in the third picture, where you can just see that it didn't look very healthy. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm right back on this rabbit trail or hamster trail or whatever the heck. I was just getting frustrated. And then the last picture to the right, I had to put that in there. It's so humiliating. But that was just maybe 2 weeks after the picture in front of it. And believe it or not, my hair's still blonde, but I had some white roots that had grown out. and then my blonde hair, and my hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and to me, I just think it looks awful. Like, I look really washed out. I don't see the blonde, I see the white. I don't think it's flattering. Of course, I'm all sweaty, we were hiking that day. But my point being that it just didn't look good to me at all, and I was so tired of trying to figure it out, trying to figure out the style, trying to figure out the color, and I was really tired of feeling like I didn't look pretty. And that was the thing that I had carried with me all that time was I didn't feel pretty. I couldn't find the right colors to wear. I couldn't find the right makeup. I couldn't find the right hairstyle. I was just really struggling. And whenever it was really and truly white, I did feel old. And that was just me, but that was how I felt, and it was, really getting to me. So here's the big reveal. I went back to brunette, and before you think anything, I do not judge anyone that chooses to maintain that journey. I think that it is a brave and a beautiful thing, and I really do think that there are a lot of women that look very, very striking and very beautiful in their white hair, their gray hair, salt and pepper. I see women and I think, "I wanna look like that someday." But I realized for myself, I'm not ready. And it may even be a character weakness, a character flaw. I don't know. But for me, I did not feel pretty. I didn't feel like it flattered my skin. I didn't feel ready to embrace it. I was surprised at how much being a brunette just felt like part of me, part of my personality. And going back to the dye, it's funny because on the one hand, I've been, like, happy skipping around like a little girl, but on the other hand, I've right away noticed things like extra hair in the drain after my shower, my scalp itching more than before. I've already got, quite a line right now. It's been a couple weeks since I've been there, and I couldn't find the cover up that I usually use, and so I'm sporting that skunk stripe myself right now. So all of the reasons why I don't love this come back, but I tried it. I did not feel that it was for me at this time. I know the difficulties of being this, and I chose to go back to this for now. And I think that in the future, when I go gray, which I'm white pretty much, when I go white, I think that I will do the really short haircut. And I think it's going to be when I'm quite a bit older. I just don't feel ready for me. Okay. When I see people that are my age that have white and silver hair, I they look fantastic, and like I say, so it might be just a mental block for me, but that was my experience, and I'm just asking for grace and not to be judged. I'm not making a conclusion for anybody else. That was just my journey. I hope that you hear me. Here's something that I experienced because I was part of so many of the gray groups on Facebook. As I was getting more and more frustrated and thinking about going back to coloring my hair, there was a lot of animosity. Well, it depended. There were some groups that were more gracious than others, but this is how I feel is that it's not easy going through middle age, and really I'm only middle age if I live to be 112, okay? It's not easy going through this. And it's not easy transitioning from who you think you are in your head to what's really happening, the sagging skin, the gray hair, the things that, are creaking and not working anymore. It's hard. It's hard emotionally and as well as physically. And the last thing we need is another woman saying, "You're not doing that right." If anything else, we have to be holding each other up and saying, "Sister, no matter what you decide, no matter how long it takes, no matter what you need to get you through, I'm here for you. What can I do?" Because it is hard. Growing old is hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And, I think that we need to be there for people that are choosing to transition. I think we need to be open-minded for those that are in the process of making the decision. I think that we need to be okay with those that have tried it and gone back, judgment free. And maybe that sounds wishy-washy, but I know how powerful it is to have someone in your corner that says, I'm on your side no matter what. This is something that I'm not going to judge you on. This is something that you get to decide because it's you. It's your hair. It's your journey. And I'm on your side no matter what. That means everything. And we need to be that for each other. I would ask that you would be that for the people in your life. And in turn, they will be that for you. Uh, I can't end this conversation without giving you a few more pieces of advice or a few more thoughts. One thing that this conversation almost always comes to a name who is famous on Instagram because he is able to take someone from brunette or redhead or whatever color you are and transition you miraculously, like in one step you go to your full head of gray, like how you would look, okay? Like as if there were some kind of magic to take you from now 12 months into the future. He does that. His name is Jack Martin. He's a colorist in California. And let me give you an example of his work. So this is an example of what Jack Martin can do. He will ask you to let several inches grow out so that he can see the pattern of your gray. Like I said, not everybody looks the same. And then he will go through a, a unbelievable process of lifting your old color, matching it to the new color that's coming in. He uses a combination of highlight and low light and coloring and whatnot to create that look. He is the only person that can do that, truly. And I would get really frustrated because I kept feeling like, well, why can't my girl do that? Why can't we just make this happen faster? Just make me look like that. But it is because he has to lift the color, the old color off, which is very, very difficult to do, and then bleach it lighter, I believe. That might be combined in one process. I'm not sure, but they're both very, very difficult to time. And if you don't do it right, your hair just breaks off, like all your hair, not just your bangs, but everything. And then to be able to just piece through every piece of your hair and match it like that is nuts. So it takes like 8 or 9 hours in his chair. You have to fly out to him. Obviously, there's a waiting list, months long. It costs several $1,000s. And the only reason that I'm bringing it up is because I was a pain in the butt with my colorist, and I kept bringing in pictures of the people that he did, like, well, why can't we just do this? And they're all over Instagram, and it's because he's a one of a kind. Like he's everybody stands in awe of him. So can it be done? I guess in theory, but it's very, very, very difficult to do. So if you, when I first started researching this, those were the kinds of pictures I would see. And in my head, I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'll just go from this to that real quick. Like that doesn't happen. Okay. So I'm just letting you know that now that when your stylist says, we can't do that, that you need to listen to her. Also, I know that we all have a relationship with our stylist, and that is something that a lot of people, like my kids and my husband, don't really understand. It's a friendship, it's a bond, and but this time in this situation, you really need to know if she's ever done anything like this before, if she's gone through a gray blending process. And if not, if you just straight up ask her, say, well, could you help me find someone that has? Because I feel like we need to all kind of work on this together because this is a big deal. And you need somebody that's done it before. You really, really do, because there's a huge learning curve here. And unless you are willing to have your hair all fry off, you want somebody that has done it before. And then once you choose that person, then you need to let her make the decisions for the most part. So just like I said, that there was a point where I said, I want you to do this no matter what. I'm willing to take the risk. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. I don't think she'll do that ever again. Like she let our friendship, guide her where she was like, okay, just this once, I'll do it. And she regretted it. And I regretted it because I lost a bunch of hair. But you need to respect the expertise of the person that you ultimately choose to work with. Uh, some products that I really love, thought I would just mention that too. And I use that, and this is for a whole lot of people, okay? So if you're like me and you color your hair, and these are things that you can use like when the roots are growing out, or if you're transitioning your hair and you are, wanting to kind of camouflage the skunk stripe for as long as possible, these are some things that you can use. For a super long time, I used something called Tween Time, and it's like a fat crayon. I used to get it at Sally's Beauty Supply. You can get it online now, like at Amazon and stuff. And you wet it and you just go in there and color it in, and it works like a charm. And it's like $4 or $5 and it lasts a super, super long time. I've been using that for years, like 20 years at least. And people would always be like so surprised that I was coloring my hair because I was so good at covering my roots. So that's been around for a long time. In more recent years, there are powders and sprays and things like that. The powders don't always cover quite as much, but they are nice. And one of my favorites is Color Wow. That one's really good. It's a little more expensive. And the sprays are amazing. L'Oreal Root Spray is fantastic, but it does feel heavy on your hair. So you pretty much have to wash your hair the next day because it just feels really funky. And from a distance, especially if the way the light hits you, you can see that you put something there, and it can make your scalp kind of itchy and stuff. So it's not like the solve all problems that people act like it is. It's not the perfect solution. So you've got like a crayon, you've got the powder, you've got the spray. There are mascaras and stuff like that, but that, if you've got a wide bit to work with, that's a lot of maneuvering. That's really good if you just have a little bit, by your temples or something like that, the mascara type things. The thing that I was really excited about is that there's permanent hair color, but it comes in a kit and they make it like, hair color for dummies, and it's only for your outgrowth. And the one that everybody raves about is Revlon Root something. And I don't know if they can't get the ingredients they need because of COVID or what, but all of a sudden you cannot find it anywhere, not even online, not even from Revlon.com. I know they haven't stopped making it officially because it won all kinds of awards. Like in 2019, all of the gurus talk about it. So there's no way that it's just gone for good. But I'm really frustrated by that. But so what did I end up with? I think I ordered either Clairol or L'Oreal, but a lot of hair color brands are coming up with kits that just keep it really simple. And so let's say instead of having to get my hair colored every 2 weeks, I'll go every 4 or 5. And then once I get to this point, I can use that coloring kit. Tells you exactly what to do, how to mix it up, and gives you a little brush and everything. And I'll just color just the roots and the parts that are really obvious just to get me through. So I'm excited about that because then I'm not having to deal with the sticky, weird stuff. I'm just kind of over the sprays and the powders and all that stuff. It seems like a great solution at one time, but eventually you feel like I'm done. I'm done with that. Probably my favorite thing is I just pull it all back or something, and it depends on how your growth pattern, you find ways to just hide it, you do. But I also wanted to tell you the names of some of the groups that I really did respect. Okay, I gotta get my good glasses. I got my good, better, and best. These are my best glasses. All right. So on Facebook, I am part of Silver Sisters. That's a great group. Going Gray Gracefully. These are groups, they have tons of before and afters, all kinds of encouragement, just wonderful groups of people that are just very real, and they are your friends. They will help you through the journey. And then another one is called The Gray Book. And so the full title is The Gray Book hyphen Inspiration for Going Gray. So those are three that I stayed in and that were very positive. There was one that I had to leave because I just felt like they were a little too, if you didn't stick with the whole gray thing, then you were not a good person. And I thought, I don't agree with that. So, if I'm, here's my philosophy. At this point in life, if any group of people makes me feel bad or less than or judged or excluded, alienated, whatever, I don't need that. So be careful. Uh, be your own advocate. We don't need that. So anyway, all right. I hope I answered all of the questions. I feel like we hit most of the highlights. If you have more questions, please put them in the comments because, like I said, this is a big subject. We're talking emotions, we're talking chemicals, we're talking products and timelines and all kinds of stuff. Yes, I do use headbands and things to pull my hair back, and there's all kinds of tricks that you can learn to get through. I think a lot of us learned that during COVID because we couldn't get to the salon. So I'm going to be dropping some links with product suggestions, and I also have a really cool quiz that I put together. And it's just like, is now the time? Is this the right time? And it just goes through and asks, how do you feel about this? And there's like kind of three temperatures, and how do you feel about this and this and this? And you go through, and I think you can kind of tell by the way the questions are worded what I'm getting at. But by the end, it comes back with, okay, you're definitely ready, or I think you probably need to still think about this, or you do not sound ready. Like you really sound like you have some things you've not thought through yet. And I think it helps sometimes to have that reflected back to you so that you uh, just know where you're at. Sometimes you just have so much going on in our head, and we need somebody to say, okay, here's the thing. You're talking about it a lot, but I don't think you've really thought through, this, or this. So it's a quiz that I think will really be enlightening for a lot of people. And so that is on my blog. So hopefully you will find that. I don't think there'll be a problem. So I appreciate everybody so much. I hope that you found this interesting. And again, post your questions. I always answer them myself. And I just love you guys so much. Do you like my hair? I'm just going to assume that's a yes. Okay, thanks so much. I know this was a long one, but I think it's worth it. So next week, we are talking about your perfect match foundation, undertone, the finish, the feel. We're going to talk about how to find one that is just right for you, even if you are a foundation hater. So stick around for that. All right. I'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.